Greetings. This is Justin Allen, the Elite Nurse Practitioner. Welcome to the Elite Nurse Practitioner Show, a podcast dedicated to nurse practitioner entrepreneurism and achieving financial freedom, where I talk directly with nurse practitioners who need help. Listen up, our market is saturated. Jobs can be scarce. We are underpaid. We are undervalued. We are taken advantage of by the sharks within the healthcare system. And frankly, screw that. Sick of it. And it's time for a change. And listen, I'm here to help make that happen. We are powerful. We can forge a path where we are in control of our career and ultimately our financial and personal well-being. You do not need to submit to healthcare administrators and your doctor overlords. You do not have to take the measly salary. You do not have to work 50 to 60 hours a week. There is a different way, and I'm here to show you that path. This podcast is raw and unfiltered. I have not talked with the nurse practitioners in this podcast prior to the call outside of an email exchange to schedule the episode. What you're about to listen to is a consultation session between a nurse practitioner and myself. It is real, it is unscripted, it is unplanned, and I have no idea what we're going to talk about. Anything and everything can happen during our conversation. The nurse practitioners in these episodes are struggling with an issue in their professional or financial life, and they have reached out to me for help. My goal is to help the nurse practitioner with actionable advice that will enhance and improve their professional, business, and financial life. My other goal is to hopefully help my nurse practitioner sisters and brothers build a more productive, powerful, and free life. So I hope the content and information within these podcast episodes does just that. All right, onto the episode. Hey everyone, today we'll be talking to Alex, who is a registered nurse who was previously on episode 166, where we discussed NP school considerations and starting a practice once she graduates. So she's getting ready to launch her wellness practice as a registered nurse until she graduates in August of 2026. So she's needing assistance with some startup considerations, revenue streams she might be overlooking, and time sinks new owners face. Hey Alex, how are you?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Hey, I'm good. Thanks for hopping on here. Good to talk to you again. So I guess update us a little bit from episode 166, kind of where you've been going the last, 6 months or whatever it's been, and kind of where you're at now.
Yeah, so ever since we were on the podcast together in March, I have been working. I pivoted. I switched from AGA CNP, and I'm now currently working on my FNP. I'm getting ready to graduate next August. And since I've been on the podcast, I have spent that time investing, following the guidance, building my my business, my logo, my website, my lines of service, and I am getting ready to open up my brick and mortar doors next week.
Cool. Good for you. All right. So you graduate NP school in about less than a year?
Yep, 10 months.
Yeah, cool. All right. So you're starting this wellness practice. What services are you going to be providing?
I will be offering testosterone and hormone replacement, peptides, weight loss, and IVs and injections for now.
Okay. So as a registered nurse, how are you going to navigate this for, the next 10 months?
So I have contracted and 1099 two providers, both licensed in Utah. One is in Utah and the other one is outside of Utah, but licensed here in order to help me with my clinic. So I'll be functioning as the RN/MA in the clinic with our clients, making sure that the scheduling is done correctly, the labs have resulted, we have everything good to go, getting them connected on telemed with the providers, and then just making sure that they receive their medications. If they have any questions that as an RN I can answer, those will be addressed. Otherwise, I'll help escalate it to the providers.
So you're basically going to be running the practice. They're going to see the patients. That's kind of what's going to happen, right? That's what it sounds like.
Yes.
So you'll kind of act as office manager, registered nurse, MA, receptionist, kind of just about everything, and then they'll show up and see patients.
Yep,
right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So I think this puts you in a pretty good position because you will understand how to run the business from everything from ordering supplies to scheduling providers to answering the phones and all that kind of stuff. So I think that probably one of the biggest things you should be doing in the next 10 months is writing down, recording what it is that you're doing, Okay, so that way you can develop a standard operating procedure manual over the next 10 months. Okay, a lot of people think they need an SOP manual, before they ever launch, which they don't. You don't need that. Like an SOP is built as you build the business, right? So over the next 10 months, you should be able to have a pretty solid SOP developed. So then when you graduate NP school, you can move into the role of seeing patients. And then you can hire an MA, an office manager, a registered nurse, or whatever to then run the practice for you using the SOP that you develop, because you're going to go through lots of trials and tribulations over the next 10 months. You're going to make a lot of mistakes. You're going to have a lot of successes, failures, etc. And so you'll understand kind of what works and what doesn't. And so you basically want to write down what works, right? Everything from answering the phone to prescription refills to ordering supplies, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Basically everything that you need to run the business. So really get into the habit of really kind of just jotting down your thought processes on how to accomplish certain tasks and whatnot. Okay. And in 10 months from now, you'll have an amazing standard operating procedure for this clinic. All right. You'll be able to just hand that over to someone. They can just run your practice for you and you see patients. So you'll be set up very, very nicely. One thing you might want to consider is maybe 6 months from now, going ahead and hiring that person you want to start taking over for you. That way you can begin training them. You know what I mean? Yeah. Have you thought about what you plan on doing when you graduate in terms of the other NPs go? Have you thought about kind of what your plan is?
I'm still pretty open in regards to where my primary job will be. I know in listening to your podcast, whatever I do, I'm planning on going 1099 because then I would be able to invest that salary back into the business to what is it? I guess like avoid the tax part
Sure.
and do it that way. But I'm not sure yet.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, these people are going to build, a patient census up that they're going to be seeing. So, I wouldn't want the goal of this business is for it to run itself, right? So you end up becoming an NP. I mean, obviously you're going to want to start seeing some of these patients, but if you already have two other providers, two other NPs seeing patients for you, I would just have them continue doing that. So that way you have a business that kind of just runs itself. So 10 months from now, what I would probably do is all new patients I would begin seeing, you know what I mean? And then the other providers that, have them just kind of stick with the follow-ups and whatnot that they have. And then once you get comfortable with everything, then you can kind of start maybe splitting it up a little bit, so that way you can continue operating the business as well while they while they continue to see patients. You start building up your own patient census, that sort of a thing. And yeah, you might have a business here that actually runs by itself, within a pretty short amount of time, and you don't have to really use your NP that much in this business. Are you planning on getting a job, or you think you're just going to run just straight into this?
If all goes according to plan, I won't have to have a second job. I'll just step into this role, and over these 10 months I'll be able to gift myself a graduation present of a fully functioning clinic. I am prepared to do what it takes because I know that it can take a few years to establish a fully functioning clinic. So realistically, I'll probably have to work somewhere, but ideally, I know that to create a clinic to where it's scalable and I can sell it down the road, I cannot be a part of it. And so ultimately, I'm keeping that in the back of my mind, is how can I grow this from the beginning while keeping myself out of it enough to still make it marketable 5, 7, 10 years down the line.
Yeah, that's a smart move. You're thinking real long term here. Most people don't. So, yeah, that's just smart. So keep thinking that way. I think it'd be kind of dumb getting a job if this thing's spinning off some pretty significant money. You know what I mean? So you might not really need to do that unless you find a job doing something that you actually really, really like doing, something that's just really part-time or whatever. Are you working? Is your plan to work as an RN while this business kind of gets going? What are you doing in that regard?
Yeah, so I'm still working full time, still in school full time while kicking off this business, juggling all of that, being a mom, all the fun things. But it's working.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're gonna be a busy girl the next year.
Yep.
It's kind of just part of it. It's what you got to do,
Yeah.
Okay, good for you. So, yeah, I think that sounds like a pretty reasonable plan. Trying to think of anything else you might want to really, really consider here. The NPs that you're hiring, you're having them sign non-solicitation clauses and all this kind of stuff, correct?
Yep. Last time I spoke with you on the podcast, I reached back out to your company. I obtained one of the clauses from you guys, tweaked it to fit my clinic, and have both of them signed it.
Okay, perfect. All right. Yeah, last thing you want is, them to take their patients with them if that time ever came.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to be paying them a production-based model?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If you do that, they shouldn't really leave as long as you're getting paid pretty well. You're the RN, so I'm assuming you're going to be doing a lot of IVs and whatnot yourself, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. You can probably do a lot of the follow-ups to yourself if you wanted to. If you wanted to create some sort of protocol, like a clinical protocol that the NPs sign off, then you can do a lot of the follow-ups yourself, especially with like weight loss and whatnot. HRT is kind of questionable because HRT is really lab-based, and adjusting doses and dealing with side effects and that sort of a thing probably really should be on the provider end. But like weight loss, for example, I mean, the provider, all they're really doing is giving the refill essentially. There's not really a whole lot of side effects to deal with a lot of these medications. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. I mean, in all honesty, a lot of these people on GLP-1s, you prescribe it to them, you don't have to follow up with them every 6 months. I mean, this stuff just kind of works on its own, and most people tolerate it very well. So, what you could do to save yourself some money is develop a clinical protocol where, as long as the NP is okay with it, you can do the follow-ups yourself, and be like, hey, are you losing weight? Are you having any side effects, etc.? Okay, well, it's been, 4 weeks. You can increase your dose. You're not prescribing them an increased dose. You're just telling them based off the protocol that they can go ahead and increase their dose. So it's a lot like, how protocols work in the hospital. It's going to be the same thing for your practice, essentially, right? So develop those protocols, have the NP sign off on it, and you can do a lot of the follow-ups and whatnot yourself, especially with like peptides, weight loss, a lot of that stuff you can do yourself. The hormone replacement therapy, like I said, that's going to be iffy. I would say probably hold off on that for the time being. Yeah, unless the NP is okay with, developing a protocol with you for adjusting doses and whatnot, then I guess you probably could do it. But at the end of the day, they need to review the lab work and release it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So weight loss, though, you won't be doing, follow-up lab work on a lot of these people for the most part. Same with the peptides and stuff too. So you can do a lot of that stuff yourself. So talk to the other NPs and see what they're okay with. And then they would just need to sign off on that order within, 24 hours. And I would just throw them like a quick $25 or something to more or less sign off on it. You know what I mean? Pay them something. It's going to take 5 minutes of their time, if that. For me, it'd probably take 1 minute, and you make $25. So that's kind of how I'd probably navigate that. So that way you can start getting some experience seeing the patients, following up with them, and all that kind of stuff. You're in NP school, so your mind's already going to be in that kind of that provider mindset. So they should be relatively easy for you to do, especially if you know what you're looking out for in terms of symptoms and side effects and lab work and that kind of stuff goes. So yeah, talk to your NPs and see if they're okay and develop some clinical protocols.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, that's amazing.
It's going to be kind of like the same. It's going to be the same thing. It's going to be like the clinical protocols you're going to have for your IV infusion stuff, right? It's going to be kind of like that, but for weight loss. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So, yeah. I think that all makes sense. So let's talk about some of the things that you wanted to talk about here. So you want to talk about some startup consideration stuff. So I guess what things are you worried about with getting started?
Oh my goodness. Well, I have been listening to your analysis paralysis episode over and over because I am definitely caught in that cycle. it is scary jumping into a brand new business, and especially as someone who cannot be the provider. So besides besides the fear of of just going, balls to the wall with a new company, I guess, what are some top things that I need to make sure are ready to go? Where have you seen people fail in opening their doors too soon?
Oh, geez. Where have they failed opening up too soon? Um, I think a lot of people, well, first off, open the doors. You know what I mean? I don't think there's anything, I don't think there's anything, no such thing as opening up too soon, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Uh, Most people just don't open, right? Most people have the exact opposite problem. They just never open up because they're stuck in analysis paralysis, right? So they just never ever get started. So opening the door first and foremost is a good thing. So I applaud you there. Just open the damn door up, right? And you'll deal with problems. So one thing that some people do that sets, that'll set themselves up for failure is they don't market whatsoever and they just expect people to show up, right? And people never show up because you're not getting the word out there. Or they market too aggressively and people are beating down on their door basically trying to get in and they get completely overwhelmed and they start making mistakes, not necessarily clinical mistakes, but more like business mistakes. They weren't ready for that kind of patient volume and stuff falls through the cracks. Maybe you overschedule people. You have to call and reschedule and cancel appointments. People show up to your practice and it's a show situation and you're running around with your head cut off kind of a thing. So there's a really you got to kind of meet in the middle, right? So my recommendation for the first 1 to 2 months is to just slowly, gradually kind of get into it. You really need to work out the kinks and the problems in your business before you really just, put the pedal to the ground in terms of marketing goes. So my advice would be get your Google business listing up and your website and the basic stuff like that. Well, let me ask you real quick. Do you have any competition in your area?
Yeah, it's a pretty well. It's becoming more and more competitive, which is another reason why I'm jumping in as an RN and not waiting until I graduate because I want to be one of the frontliners here. But with the way that I'm creating my clinic and having my providers still do telemarketing, it is allowing me to branch out throughout the entire state because I'm already set up to have patients completed via telemed.
Gotcha. Um, okay. So I would just gradually go into this then, have the basics set up. What were you thinking in terms of marketing goes?
Well, that was one of my questions. I know that you really push the Google business listings, which I just actually had my marketing manager get up this past weekend. But besides that, I was just wondering, let's see. So one of the questions I did have is for effective marketing, what does that like for a new clinic and what do you consider as a waste of money?
I mean, everywhere's different. So, what works in some places doesn't work in other places and vice versa. Um, if you're wanting to do a lot of telemed throughout the state, then my advice would be to probably set up some Google search ads and target certain areas. Um, don't just start a Google search ad and just select the entire state. Okay, pick like some locations that aren't saturated. So when you create a Google ad, you'll be able to select where people see the ads. And so you wouldn't want to select the entire state. That's going to be way too broad. And so what you need to do is like go on Google Maps, for example, and just scroll around the state looking for these kinds of practices and find towns and cities and stuff where maybe this doesn't exist and advertise there. So that way, if someone in this town searches for weight loss or testosterone replacement therapy or whatever, your ad will come up. Okay. So that way, your marketing dollars are a lot more effective in nature. Maybe throw like $500 a month at it. Don't spend too much money on it. Just kind of see what happens. But uh, local, you're probably going to do better locally than you are telemed, to be honest with you.
Okay.
So, with that said, I would stick to local forms of advertising tend to work very well. I mean, you could do some social media advertising. You could do some Facebook ads or whatever. New wellness practice open. Target people who you think would be interested in your services, or you can allow Meta to use their AI function to find leads for you as well. So you can experiment with that. Um, like I said, maybe putting a billboard up sometimes works really, really well. Uh, have you gotten a location yet?
Yes. Yep. I have a brick and mortar location.
What's the competition like in that area?
In the specific area, it for especially for testosterone and hormone replacement, it is not that large. The location I'm at is much more saturated with Botox and fillers, which I'm not focusing on because of the oversaturation. Weight loss is it's not oversaturated, but there's quite a lot in the area. But the clientele, like the need and want, is still very high, also.
Gotcha. Okay. Are you gonna have like some roadside sign frontage?
Yes, that was one thing that I looked for was having the availability for signage out front.
Okay, good. Well, make sure that you put the name of your practice on there, obviously, and then I would just maybe list three things that you do: hormone replacement therapy, weight loss, IV infusion, or whatever. Is the sign big?
No, it's smaller.
Yeah. Um, yeah, people probably won't see it very well. Are you able to put like flags out, or are there like
I don't
rules
know.
against that?
I'll have to find out.
Yeah, in a lot of towns and municipalities, you can't put like, you know, flags out or signs out or whatever. Um, when you're driving around your city, do you see people putting like flags and little signs out and stuff, advertising their business?
In some areas, yes.
Yeah,
In
I'd
others, no.
I'd say just do it. Then just do it. If someone comes knocking on your
Okay.
door saying you can't do it, just say, "Oh, well, I didn't know. Sorry." Like they're gonna fine you. Like I wouldn't worry about it. Um, so maybe get like like a couple little A-frame kind of signs, maybe put out on the sidewalk, or maybe a flag or something that says hormone replacement therapy or weight loss, and put it out there and see how that goes. Um, what's your budget like here?
Um, it's it's actually pretty open. I so far have paid for everything cash out of pocket. I did secure an SBA line of credit just to have as a very last resort. But in terms of my actual budget, I don't know.
So you've been able to start the business up with no debt.
Correct.
All right, and you're launching what, in like a month?
Technically by the end of this next week.
Okay, so the end of November, basically, at the latest.
Yep.
Um, just FYI, don't expect it to be super busy. Okay, you're kind of launching around the holidays, so
Yeah.
just have realistic expectations here that the first month might not be that busy because people are spending a lot of money on Christmas and that kind of a thing. So just have some realistic expectations that it might not be very busy. the next month. Okay, just just
Okay.
just FYI. In January, New Year's resolution kind of stuff, then it should pick up. But a lot of practices, these cash-based practices, typically you have really two real slow times out of the year, and usually it's going to be like middle of the summer, like June, July. Usually kind of slows down. Sometimes August can be a little bit slow, and then usually around the holidays, like Thanksgiving and Christmas, usually it'll slow down. So you are launching this during historically, a slower time of the year. So just have realistic expectations. All right.
Okay.
Um, so marketing budget. I don't want you to tap into that line of credit if you don't have to. All right.
Mhm.
So realistically, then, I mean, how much would you feel comfortable spending marketing on a monthly basis? All right. I hope everyone's enjoying the episode so far. I just wanted to take a quick break to thank everyone listening and also give a big thank you to all of my social media followers and email subscribers. If you haven't done so yet, please subscribe to our email list at www.elitenp.com and make sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Email subscribers will receive updates on new weekly podcast episodes, multiple weekly articles we publish, new courses, and everything else related to helping you succeed. Remember, all Elite Nurse Practitioner courses are designed to help you build a niche practice, increase your financial strength, and to break free from the rat race. If I can break free and the other countless nurse practitioners can break free, then so can you. Additionally, please share this podcast with your other nurse practitioner sisters and brothers out there. The more NPs that venture out on their own, the stronger our profession will become. Now, let's get back to the episode.
I mean, I've tentatively been thinking about 500.
Okay.
I just want to make sure that I'm really utilizing that money correctly and just, not throwing everything against the wall. I know there will be some experimenting with it to see what works, what doesn't, but just trying to be as conservative as possible, but willing to spend what I need to.
So, why don't you do this? It's going to be a little bit slower, anyways. Okay. You spending money on marketing on social media and Google ads this month and next month, November, December, it's probably not going to return that much capital back to you, if anything. Okay. So, spending your money on that is probably going to be a real waste of money. So, I would say, from an advertising standpoint, over the next month and a half or something until the new year, I would say instead of spending money advertising, spend some money on the things that you can do very locally, like making sure your sign out front's really nice, putting some flags out, putting some, some little, flag signs out, some little A-frame signs out. Making sure your Google business listing has as many reviews as you possibly can. Get friends and family to leave some reviews for you. Okay. Maybe spending some money on some flyers and going out and dropping them off in different places and that kind of a thing. That's probably what I would focus on the next month and a half, because I think if you spend money advertising on social media and Google, I don't think you're going to see much return right now. It's a slow time of the year, so it's going to be a waste of your money. So instead, invest your marketing dollars in things that you can reuse in the future, like a sign or a flag you go put out on the road. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Because once you buy that flag, you can use it for a year or 2 years until it falls apart. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's what I would do.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So, just FYI, it's probably going to be a little bit of a slower next month and a half. So I just don't want you to get like really down on yourself if it doesn't, perform like you think it's going to. Like, kind of just expect it to be a little bit slow. All right.
Yeah. I was thinking it would be a good practice
Yes.
stage. Plus, literally, these are the 2 weeks I have between semesters in order to get my business like actually live. So that's what I let from the second my last clinical ended until the second my next clinical starts. I've just been trying to throw everything out, get it live, and then that way I can be working and practicing on operating efficiently in between classes.
Perfect. You're a smart girl. It's exactly what you should do. So perfect. I'd say your mind's in the right place. Okay. So yeah, yeah. If you get 5 or 10 patients in the next month, I'd say that's probably going to be a win. All right. So,
Okay.
so yeah. So don't really expect to make a whole lot of money the next month or two. Okay. And then when January comes around, maybe then think about either billboards. Maybe think about throwing some ads up on Facebook or Google. Think about maybe seeing if you can get some ads in some gyms or some different places, that sort of a thing. So just FYI. All right.
Okay.
Um, yeah. So in terms of the startup considerations, I mean, it sounds like your head's in the right place here. So you're gonna basically dip your toes in the water here the next month or two, and so you should be able to mitigate a lot of the problems most people have. So just keep that in mind. And also another big thing too is people order too much stuff.
Mm,
Yeah, they order too many IV vitamins or supplies, things that expire. So I would be very cautious there.
okay.
Yeah. Okay, so revenue streams you might be overlooking. So tell me again exactly what you're going to be offering.
So I'm doing testosterone and hormone replacement for males and females, focusing on weight loss, peptides, and then IVs and infusions, or I'm sorry, IVs and injections.
Okay. Um, so for a general wellness practice, I mean, those are going to be, HRT and weight loss are going to be your main revenue drivers. Like that's probably going to be 80% of your revenue. Okay. So yeah, so you're doing well there. The peptides will probably account for another 10 or 15% more than likely. Just really depends on what the demand's like. The IV infusion stuff, flip of the coin, who knows? I mean, it could do really well or just be something that's just kind of there. All right. Uh, so things that you should be thinking about though are what kinds of services and products can you provide that complement your two main service lines, which are going to be HRT and weight loss. So what complements that, right? The peptides
Mhm.
do, obviously. So you need to be trying to sell the majority of your patients on some kind of peptide. Okay. It works synergistically with, the hormones and the weight loss medications. So that's smart. And then the IV infusion stuff, be focusing more on the injectables because that's easy and it's cheap, it's quick. So most people who are coming through your door, be checking your vitamin D level on them. If they are vitamin D deficient, try to start selling them on vitamin D injections, NAD injections, B complex injections, vitamin B injections, like those sorts of things complement, HRT and weight loss very, very well. From a men's health standpoint, HRT standpoint, you could make some money upselling HCG and Clomid, anastrozole. If you're going to be providing some anastrozole to people, it's dirt cheap. Just give it to them for free. It doesn't cost anything. Uh, Additional things that you can provide too is uh, nice little add-ons would be like nandrolone. Nandrolone for a lot of guys, especially men over the age of 45, tends to be a really good add-on to just basic testosterone. Um, Human growth hormone is another great one that a lot of guys like to add to it. Hell, even a lot of women like to add that to it too, especially active women in their 40s and 50s. I mean, I probably have I treat a couple dozen women at my practice, and I would say probably out of those couple dozen, at least 6 of them are on Omnitrope, human growth hormone, because they're just very active women who are in the gym 6 days a week. It helps them with their recovery, and I guess these are just rich housewives. I don't know. Like I'll call them up for their appointment. It's like 11 o'clock in the morning, and I'm like, "Hey, are you cool right now to have your your little follow up call?" And they're like, "Yeah, I just got out of the gym." I'm like, "You got out of the gym at 11 o'clock in the morning on a Thursday? Like, I don't think you're not working, obviously. You know what I mean?" And they don't care about dropping $1,000 a month on growth hormone, So I guess their job is to look pretty and look good, I guess, for their husband. I don't know. But anyways, yeah. So, those kinds of things complement as well for the revenue streams. But I don't think you need to be thinking too much here about a lot of different revenue streams, okay? Try to have a subscription-based membership for the majority of your services so you have that recurrent income. If people don't want a subscription, create packages then. Okay, if you don't want to pay monthly, then you can buy 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months at a time if you want. Give them a little bit of a discount, okay? And then everything else is a la carte, more or less. So your HRT and your weight loss should be, a monthly subscription kind of a thing, or packages. Peptides are just per vial, basically. IVs are per IV. You could also have a membership for your IV if you wanted to. $200 a month, you can come in and get 2 IVs or whatever. And then the add-ons, the vitamin injections, and the human growth hormone, the nandrolone, those sorts of things. Those are just a la carte add-ons. All right. You'll figure out the pricing and stuff kind of as you go. What you set right now at the very beginning is not set in stone, okay? You can change it. So don't be really fixed on it. We changed our pricing multiple times in the first 6 months. Okay, so then we kind of found what worked, and what worked is what we keep doing to this day. All right. So any other questions there?
Do you see success with people who do, like in regards to ED health, when they do like the ultrasound therapy, like gains wave, shockwave therapy, things like that?
Yeah, I forgot to mention ED. I mean, you should be doing just, the basics, obviously, like tadalafil and, sildenafil, and, those sorts of things. I mean, those are no-brainers. Can you dispense medication out of your practice in your state?
I could. I'm not set up for that right now, but if I wanted to, I could.
Typically, there's not really a whole lot to set up. Okay, you should have to you should have to basically print a prescription label. I mean, every state's a little different, you know what I mean? But the majority of states, all you got to do is print off a prescription label and you can dispense medications. All right.
Okay.
So see kind of what the rules are in your state surrounding that. There might not really be a whole lot of rules at all. You can just dispense meds. Okay. If you can, then you need to be dispensing the tadalafil and the sildenafil from your practice, because that stuff's dirt cheap to buy. I mean, you can buy bottles of this stuff, 30 count bottles of it for $5. You can sell it for 30, 40. Okay. So definitely be doing that. But in terms to answer your question, in terms of gains wave and shock wave and that sort of thing, I mean, I have had people, at our last Elite MP conference in San Diego in October, someone was telling me about, I think it was gains wave, and how the results they see from it for ED is just absolutely amazing. Like, it really works extremely well. The problem is that it's just such a large investment up front. If there isn't anyone in your area doing it, then it could be a pretty good revenue stream, but you typically have to buy the machine or lease it, and the lease on it could be $1,000, $2,000 a month. It just really depends on how much the machine is. I mean, supposedly you can buy these machines used for $30,000 or something, maybe even cheaper than that. But so yeah, just kind of keep that in mind. It's a large upfront investment, so having that right from the start would be something that would be extremely risky. It could really pay off, or it could be a thorn on your side. A lot of people who buy these machines, it ends up being a thorn on their side. Basically, it just sits there. No one's using it. No one's paying for it, and they're stuck in this lease. It's like buying a car or a house you're stuck with. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or it could really pay off. It's just one of those things you're not going to really know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad to. That's what I was kind of worried about. I mean, I'm even just part of different Facebook groups for med spa owners, and I see people getting stuck with different pieces of equipment all the time, where others it works really well. So
yeah,
I will keep that in mind.
It's just one of those things you're not going to really know until you get it. You know what I mean? Like, You're not going to know if it's going to work real well until you actually get the thing and trying to start selling the service, I mean, you can do some market research and see if there's anyone in your area doing it. If they're not, then okay, that's a plus. Or if there's someone doing it in your area and you call to make an appointment and they're booked out 4 or 5 weeks, that's probably a good sign. Um, or you can ask your patients, your established patients, would you pay for this? You can do that as well. But in your position, just getting started, I would avoid it
Hmm.
unless one of these two things happens. Essentially, there's two things I just said. If there's no one in your area doing it, okay, that's a good sign because people do pay for this service. And if there is a very large population of people in your area, we're talking about a million people plus within a 30-minute drive, then there's probably going to be some demand there. And then number two is, like I said, if there's someone offering it in your area and you call them up and there is a wait for it, then that tells you there's some demand for it, right? So you're going to have to tread that lightly.
Okay.
Yeah.
I definitely will.
So, um,
So one question, oh,
yeah,
I'm
no,
sorry.
no, continue.
One question I did have to somewhat piggyback on this is something that I've seen throughout the Elite NP chats with a lot of NPs are being able to tell what peptides or what compounding locations are legal, safe, just okay to use. What do I need to look out for, and what do I need to avoid legally when it comes to some of these more gray areas?
Yeah. Well, for HRT and weight loss, I wouldn't really worry about that. There's really nothing gray there. All right. I mean, as long as you're getting it from a legitimate compounding pharmacy, then don't worry about it. Whole GLP-1 thing with compounding pharmacies, I wouldn't worry about it. Don't worry about it. All right. Like, seriously, don't worry about it. Uh, like, like I've said so many times on this podcast, the the pharmaceutical companies, Eli Lilly and Novo, they're going to go after the compounding pharmacies. They're not going to sue someone who owns a little bullshit wellness practice in Syracuse, New York, that does a couple $100,000 a year in GLP-1s. They're not. You are not a priority to them. They're going after the compounding pharmacies. They're technically the ones that are, I'm going to do this in quotation marks, breaking the law, even though they're really not. They're using loopholes and whatnot, right? They're going to go after them. They're not going after you, so don't worry about it, all right? If you can get it from the compounding pharmacy, keep prescribing it. That's my piece of advice for everyone. In terms of peptides go, if you're getting it from a compounding pharmacy, they should be doing quality control testing on the peptide itself, wherever they source it from, to ensure that it actually is the peptide. So if you're getting it from a compounding pharmacy, what you're getting should be the peptide. All right. Now, when you start ordering peptides from labs, you know, or some random place online, you really don't know what you're getting. Consumer Labs is something I'm actually subscribed to. It's worth, I think it's like $10 a month or something, and they do testing on a bunch of like food products and vitamins and supplements, and they see what's actually what's legitimate and what's not. Like, is the amount of vitamin D in the supplement actually the amount that says on it? So, anyways, it's like I said, it's $10 a month. Consumer Labs, and yeah. Anyways, they did a recent test on peptides. They predominantly BPC 157 and TB 500, and they got them from a variety of places online. Where you can get peptides for research purposes only. And I think it was like, don't quote me on this, but it was pretty significant. It was like 3 out of the 5 samples they got didn't even contain the peptide in it. Like,
Hmm.
what the hell are you even injecting? Just saline? You know what I mean? So yeah, if you're getting it from a compounding pharmacy, I wouldn't worry about it.
Okay.
Yeah. But it does limit what you can get because a lot of compounding pharmacies don't offer a lot of these different things. So, just kind of be aware that the selection of peptides that you can choose are going to be a little limited.
Yeah, like, are people just practicing under the table, the ones who are offering like these different stacks?
They're probably getting it from a lab. So, one of our sponsors with the lead MP at the conference is Blossom Biomed. Um, they provide peptides, lab-based peptides that they synthesize actually in the States. I mean, those should be pretty good quality. They're a little bit more expensive, but you get what you pay for. If you want me to give you the email of the sales rep for that, just email me and I'll send it to you.
Okay.
And that's for anyone listening to this. Just FYI. I can hook you up with with their sales rep. It's lab-based peptides, so you're not prescribing it. Okay, there's no prescription involved. You're just dispensing it as like a supplement from your practice, right? Or you're doing a research study on a patient to see if this BPC 157 actually works, and then you document research subject. I mean, it's stupid, but these are the things you got to do. If you order it from a compounding pharmacy and prescribe it, you don't really got to worry about it. But the selection's limited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. Contact.
Yeah. And then one other thing you want to talk about was time sinks, new owners face. I think that if you find yourself doing things that are not generating income, it is a time sink. I mean, just to sum it up, all right? I can't really tell you specific things because so many people get stuck doing so many dumb things and wasting their time on dumb that I can't list it all. Because I mean, what one person focuses on is not going to be what other people focus on, and vice versa, right? So, essentially, you need to be working on income producing activities essentially in your business. Sure, there are things in your business that you have to do to keep the thing operational, right? You got to order supplies. You got to clean the reception area. I mean, you're going to be running this as kind of a one-woman show for a little while. So there are going to be things that you're going to be doing that are not income producing. That's just part of it. That's just part of it. But you should not be spending an enormous amount of time on stuff that isn't income producing. All right? Ordering supplies for your practice isn't an income producing activity. So just get it done. Don't shop around to save 5 cents. Just order your and get it done. You know what I mean? Compounding pharmacies, open up an account with 3 compounding pharmacies and call it a day. Don't sit here and worry about just a bunch of little nitpicky kind of things. Your job is to get the patient in the door, treat them appropriately and safely, and collect payment and schedule a follow-up. That's what your job is, right? Everything else is just white noise essentially. So focus on income producing activities. Ask yourself before you do something, does this produce income or does it not? If it doesn't, then ask yourself, why am I doing this? Well, it's just to keep the business operational. Okay, fine, that's fine. Or if you ask yourself that question, why am I doing this? And you're just like, I really don't know what the point of this is, then fucking stop doing it. Stop doing it, right? These standard operating procedures you're going to be writing out, don't spend a whole lot of time on it. It should be straight to the point. It doesn't need to be a perfect format. No one's going to come to your practice and audit your SOP and make sure that everything's spelled correctly and everything's grammatically correct. Just write the stuff down on how you want to do it. Throw it in a chat GPT and they can create a nice little SOP for you. You know what I mean? So yeah, does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does.
Okay,
Thank
cool.
you.
Any other questions?
Just to kind of tag on, what boundaries do owners need to keep in mind in order to stay sane while building up their business?
What boundaries they need to have to stay sane, basically?
Yeah.
Well, I think that, like I talked about in a couple podcasts, is that you got to have some boundaries for your personal time and your personal space and just for, balance in your life. Like, if you tell yourself you're done at 5, be done at 5 o'clock, right? Like, unwind. If you want to binge watch a show or something, actually binge watch the show. Like, you need to put time aside to make sure that you're still maintaining some kind of pleasure in your life and maintaining your health. Like when I was really in hustle mode, I always would work out before I did anything else. I just told myself I have to exercise right now before I go do this. You know what I mean? and I made myself do it. I set a boundary for myself. If I don't exercise, I know I'm going to feel like for the rest of the day, and I'm going to feel guilty for not doing it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So you have to just set clear boundaries to make sure that you maintain some kind of balance in your life, or you're going to get burnt out. I mean, you're a mother, you're going to school full time, you work full time as an RN, and you have a business going. That's a lot of stuff on your plate. You can do that for a little while, right? How old are you?
35.
35. Okay. You still are at that age where you can do that. When you start getting into your mid 40s, doing all of that is going to be very difficult, right? So you are still at a good time in your life to where you can still do that. But you're not going to be able to do that for a very long time, okay? A year or two, and then you're going to get burnt out. So make sure that you're just setting boundaries for yourself in terms of, when am I going to work on business? When am I not going to work on business? When am I going to see patients? You're going to have to just set clear boundaries, and make sure you set boundaries as well for patients calling you and texting you and like that. Make sure they're texting a second phone line, not your personal line.
Okay.
Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it does.
Okay. Anything else?
I think that's everything we've covered.
Okay. I know we already did a podcast before, but I still like to ask the question. Do you have a question for me? A personal curiosity or question, maybe something that's happened?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I do. What is something that you changed, whether personal or professional, something you changed that gave you exponential growth?
I think that the big thing for me probably was, I'm going to say two things. I'm going to say number one was probably quitting my job and actually being an entrepreneur, letting go of the safety net of a job. Once I did that, once I quit my job and actually went all in on my business, I exponentially grew. Okay, because I was now able to focus actually on my business and nothing else. So I would say that was probably one thing, and then the other thing would have been learning how to just let go of responsibility and trusting other people. I really, really struggled with that for a long time. And I hit a plateau. I hit a ceiling with all of my businesses, the Elite Nurse Practitioner, my men's health clinic, etc. I really hit a ceiling when I was trying to do as much as I possibly could by myself. And when I finally let go of that responsibility and just let it go and put work into other people's hands and started trusting other people, then yeah, I started exponentially growing as well at that point. Now, there was some hiccups along the way. I did have some employees that stole from me. I did have some issues. I mean, it's not all roses and butterflies. I mean, there was some hiccups along the way, and there probably will still be hiccups, in the future. That's just part of it. But you can't let that leave a bad taste in your mouth. There's always going to be some bad apples out there, and there's just nothing you can do about it other than try to do your due diligence and make sure you hire, the most honest people you possibly can. But, trust your gut. If you're interviewing people and your gut's telling you, I'm getting bad vibes from this person, listen to your gut. Like, don't fight against it. Listen to your gut. So yeah, you just got to end up letting it go. But you right now, you have other providers. You're hiring people right from the get-go here. So that shouldn't be much of a problem for you. Yeah. But you're going to have to learn how to quit that job eventually, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, I will, happily.
Right, happily, yeah. It might be a couple of years from now before that happens, but the day it happens is going to be a fantastic day for you. But at least it's not going to be quitting an RN job. At least you'll be quitting, an NP job. Maybe you get a job in urgent care or something kind of easy and laid back. That'd be one of my big pieces of advice for you, is that whatever job that you pick as an NP, if you got this business going, make sure it's a pretty easy job, something that's really not extremely stressful. I'd avoid primary care for sure. You're just not going to have the time for it. It's going to need to be something that's shift based. You know what I mean? It's going to have to be. Mm-hmm. Where do you work as an RN?
I work at a local hospital right now.
Like ER, the floor, like what though?
My background is ICU, but in my position right now, I actually kind of rove around the whole hospital helping teach RNs how to be stronger RNs. So I am part of the code team. I go from ER to ICU, NICU, med surg, all over.
So you don't do a whole lot of patient care anymore?
No, I don't take my own patients. I will go help like place ultrasound IVs, difficult Foleys, feeding tubes. The fun part of nursing.
Right. Is this like 3 days a week? A couple 12s? Like what?
3 to 4.
3 or 4? You know, I mean, if you get paid pretty well, that might not be a bad gig to keep doing, and you just do the NP stuff in your practice. You know, I guess it just really depends on what's going to work for your schedule. That's going to be another boundary you're going to need to set yourself too, is that don't take on an NP job that's going to end up hampering your progress with your business. You know what I mean? If you take this NP job and it ends up taking away your time and your energy from your business because the schedule sucks or it's extremely demanding, then that's not going to be something that you want. You want something that's kind of laid back. Urgent care it can either be really laid back or just absolute hell. But if you get a job at an urgent care where there's at least 2 providers, not just one, the urgent cares where it's just one provider, those jobs suck. I've been there, but I made a lot of money, but it was stressful as hell. So if you can find one where it's maybe 2 providers, that probably wouldn't be half bad.
Okay.
If you feel comfortable in the ER's not a bad place. You'll learn a lot. It's shift work, so yeah, be really thinking about what you want to do as an NP.
Yeah, I've been starting to try to think about that. So that's actually really helpful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, you're welcome. I don't think I'd work in the ICU.
No.
Yeah,
No, I really just started as an AGAC to have fun in my clinicals and, see the stuff that I've loved seeing as an RN, but I don't want to work in the hospital as an NP too much. I don't want to be their bitch.
Yeah, I hear you. The only place I'd work in the hospital as an NP would be like the ER. You know what I mean? Maybe doing 2 shifts a week or something.
Yeah.
You could tell them, hey, I just want to be in fast track. And they'll just put you in fast track. That's easy. That shit's easy. That's easy. That's easy work, So, yeah, just be thinking about that. Make sure it's shift based, whatever it is that you decide, so that way you can stay flexible with your, with your practice.
Okay.
So cool. All right. Well, yeah, this was a good talk. I wish you the best of luck and hope this business succeeds. If you ever want to do another follow up in a few months, 3 to 6 months from now, just let me know.
Oh, definitely. Once I'm pulling in the money, I'll be back.
Yeah, cool. All right. Well, it was a pleasure talking with you again.
Yeah, thank you so much, Justin. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the show. Quick legal disclaimer. The content of this podcast is meant for informational and entertainment purposes only and should not be used as legal, financial, medical, regulatory, or practice-specific advice. For information pertaining to your specific legal, financial, medical, or practice-specific needs, please be sure to consult with your lawyer, CPA, medical director, and or your state's practice laws and the most up-to-date clinical guidelines. As always, do your due diligence when it comes to any information found online and in podcasts. The content in this podcast is copyrighted by Galaxy Medical Southwest 2023 and cannot be duplicated, rebroadcasted, or reproduced without our written permission.